Great. Thanks so much. This is my first CIPHER conference, and it has been so enjoyable and really have enjoyed seeing and meeting all of you and all of your great presentations. So thanks for being here today, sticking through this afternoon session on our last day. I'm Canon Cepa at the Financial Health Network. I'll be starting us off today, and then Najati will take over for findings. So we'll be presenting our research that documents the fluidity of financial health by leveraging 5 years of data from the Financial Health Pulse study, which since 2018 has been collecting survey data through the Understanding America study panel. So see if I can get it to work. Perfect. So just want to quickly say thanks to our funders and our partners. We received generous financial support from the Citi Foundation and the Principal Foundation. And then you heard a lot about our PLAD data earlier today. This presentation today will actually focus just on the survey data collected through the Understanding America panel. So let me take a moment to just chat a little bit about financial health and why we're interested in it. So financial health offers a holistic measure for understanding Americans' financial lives. So we take into consideration Americans' ability to spend, save, borrow, and plan. We say those who are financially healthy have the ability to spend, save, borrow, and plan in ways that allow them to be resilient and thrive. So on the flip side, then, folks who are financially unhealthy are not able to do so. So in cross-sectional data that's been collected from 2018 through 2022, between 66% and 72% were not financially healthy in any given year. So I think these numbers are pretty striking on their own, but as those of us in this room here today know, cross-sectional data can't show the dynamics of financial health. So thinking about this as if financial health remains consistently unhealthy from year to year, what we are talking about as chronically financially unhealthy, or if it changes from year to year. So thinking of that as intermittently financially unhealthy. And we think that there are probably some policy implications to be thinking through for these two different groups about how to best support them to secure financial health. So we will be asking 4 research questions today. Are Americans more likely to be chronically or intermittently financially unhealthy? Are Americans from a certain demographic group more likely to be chronically or intermittently financially unhealthy? And then we look at certain life events and whether or not they're related to being intermittently or chronically financially unhealthy. So we've fielded 5 waves of Financial Health Pulse survey annually through the Understanding America study panel. We do this in April and May of each year. We did this starting in 2018, and the most recent one is 2022, though we're hoping to field 2023 at the end of April. So for this specific study that we're talking about today, we focused on those individuals, over 2,800 of them, who responded to all 5 of our Financial Health Pulse surveys. We found an average attrition of about 13% in each year. Najati did some analyses on what bias looks like that we are happy to chat about during the Q&A. And also just wanted to say that our sample is weighted to be representative of race, ethnicity, age, gender, and region distributions of US adults using 2022 benchmarks. So to give just some background on how we actually measure financial health in the Pulse survey, we ask 8 survey questions on financial health, and there's 2 for each of the 4 pillars of financial health, which are those spend, save, borrow, plan. So then for each survey item response for each one of the questions, we assign a score ranging from 0 to 100. To then get to the overall financial health score, we average across those 8 indicators so that you can have a financial health score that ranges between 0 and 100. Andrew showed you earlier today the range of financial health scores, and that at the Financial Health Network, we often talk about folks who are financially vulnerable, which is at the lowest end of the distribution, those who are coping, which sits in the middle, and then those who are financially healthy. But for this specific talk today, we're going to be lumping together coping and vulnerable into a single financially unhealthy category. Another decision that we're happy to chat about more in the Q&A. So then in this study, we also further think about the financially unhealthy group as those who are chronically financially unhealthy. So those are individuals with a financial health score of less than 80 for all 5 survey waves. And then intermittently financially unhealthy individuals are those who have a financial health score of less than 80 in some but not all of our 5 survey waves. What we will be presenting to you today are largely descriptive statistics of our full sample, but then also some fixed effects analyses among those who are intermittently financially unhealthy. So with that, I will move us over to findings and hand things off to Najati.
All right, the important device. Hi everyone, I'm Najati, and let's see if I can make that work. Perfect. So we'll just dive into the results here. So the first question that we asked in this analysis was, how prevalent is it for Americans to be financially unhealthy, on top of what we already have seen in cross-sectional estimates? So we found that more than 4 out of 5 Americans were financially unhealthy at some point in time during the 5 years we observed them. And that's 83% to be specific, which means that 17%, the rest of the sample, were financially healthy during all 5 years. Now, to put this into context, in our cross-sectional estimates, we found, over the past 5 years in our reports, that the percentage of financially healthy people varies between 28% to 34% in any given year. So that actually basically, these results show us that not all of those people who were financially healthy in any given year, according to our cross-sectional estimates, actually remained that way over the 5-year period. Digging deeper into this group of people who were financially unhealthy at some point in time over the 5 years, we find that majority of those people were actually financially unhealthy in all 5 years. And I'm going to say that at least 5 years, because our data is obviously censored, meaning that we don't know if the financial struggles that people are going through over these 5 years might actually be extending beyond the 5 years that we observe them. So we don't know if in the past 5 years of our observations, they were financially unhealthy. And we also do not know if they will continue to be financially unhealthy after our observations. So it's censored data. We also have this group in the middle, 36% of the sample in purple bars, people who were financially healthy at some point in time, in one of the years at least, but financially unhealthy in the rest. So these are the people that we call, that can explain intermittently financially unhealthy. Apologies for the small numbers and a lot of them. So please do not hate me. But just to summarize this, we are trying to answer our research question on whether there are disparities in being chronically or intermittently financially unhealthy across different demographic groups. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but we basically see what you would expect. People in the demographic groups that you would expect to be more financially unhealthy are also the ones that are more likely to be financially unhealthy on a chronic basis. However, these disparities do not extend into purple bars, intermittently financially unhealthy percentages. So we see disparities across for being chronically financially unhealthy, but not so much for being intermittently financially unhealthy. So we also wanted to understand, what kind of life events are associated with being chronically financially unhealthy. So we are just specifically focusing on people who were financially unhealthy in all 5 years of our observations. We find that people who were homeowners, people who had a savings account, people who were either always married or lived with a partner, people who always had a retirement account or sometimes had a retirement account, were more frequently financially unhealthy on a chronic basis than those people who never experienced any of these life events. We also see that people who experience unemployment, people who reported less than good health in a self-reported health measure, people who experience a major medical event, and people who held certain kinds of debt and always held those debt, such as car loans, student loans, credit card debt. They were more financially unhealthy on a chronic basis than those who never experienced these things. I just want to actually just go back and make sure that I said this correctly. The orange bars, people who experience these events were less likely to be chronically financially unhealthy. And in the next slide, we have the events that, associated with being more likely to be chronically financially unhealthy. So I just want to make sure that I didn't make a mistake there. So last but not the least, we want to turn our attention to the group of people who are intermittently financially unhealthy. So they were financially healthy in some years and financially unhealthy in some other years. And we did this through a fixed FX modeling. So these are the odds ratios, percentage change in odds, I should say, of being intermittently financially unhealthy in relation to different life events. So there are also year effects in this model that I'm not showing you here because there's nothing interesting about them. What we see here is that things like losing a job, reporting less than good health, and experiencing a major medical event are all things that also increase the risk of someone being intermittently financially unhealthy. And at the bottom, we see the events that are associated with a lower risk of being intermittently financially unhealthy, such as opening a savings account, becoming a homeowner, and paying off mortgage, paying off student loan debt, paying off credit card debt, and also household income going above $30,000 a year were all factors associated with the lower risk of being intermittently financially unhealthy. So just to summarize these findings, that, the answer to our first research question, how prevalent is it to be financially unhealthy? It is quite prevalent. It's actually more prevalent than what our cross-sectional estimates showed us. And it's experienced in two different ways. Some people are chronically financially unhealthy, so they are, always not having financial struggles, and some people are going in and out of that state. And of course, we found meaningful differences in being chronically financially unhealthy across different demographic groups, such as race and ethnicity, income, gender, education, and ability. And we also saw a very interesting overlap between the life events that are linked to being chronically financially unhealthy and also linked to being intermittently financially unhealthy, which tells us perhaps there's a case to be made about solutions that can address these common factors between being intermittently and chronically financially unhealthy that can solve both of these issues. Because when we consider the fact that this is censored data, it is very possible that we might be catching people who are intermittently financially unhealthy in the start of a period that just extends beyond the 5 years that we observe them. So maybe they're just starting a very long stretch of financial struggles, but we just classify them as intermittently financially unhealthy because our data is censored. And that actually highlights the importance of collecting more frequent and more data. So that just kind of gives us the encouragement to conduct more of these surveys, which I'm sure USC people are happy about. So that makes the case for that. But obviously, perhaps the biggest limitation of our analysis is that our data is censored. And also the survey, the collection of financial health data happens on an annual basis. So we do not know really what's happening between those, yearly data collection points. So that's why I want to highlight the frequency of data collection on this issue would be very important to come up with the right solutions for people. As the next step, we wanted to maybe somewhat alleviate that censoring issue using different analytical techniques. Event history analysis is an example of that. We started actually experimenting with that. So we have some work to do about that. And of course, we want to play around with our definition of being financially unhealthy. You know, as you saw, we are only using our financial health score right now, and we are using threshold of 80 points and below 80 points. And what happens when we change that threshold to, let's say, 50? Or what happens if we use a different definition of being financially unhealthy, that just change the definition and use instead different survey questions to do that? Because we also ask in our survey questions on CFPB's financial well-being framework. So we can use those as well to do that, to define financial unhealthy people. Just wrapping up. And of course, our 2023 survey results, our 2023 survey will be in the field very soon, thanks to good folks at USC. And we will use that survey, the data from that survey as well, to supplement our 5 years and make it 6 years instead. So thanks, everyone.